Erida was a risless loser who failed to bag his crush because she only dates gigachads with OP physiques like Sung Jin-woo. However, his pathetic life changes when he discovers he and his 5 smoking hot sisters aren't blood-related, and he claps them instead.
You're the best big brother I could have ever asked for.
Finally upgrading from gooning to the real family discount. Before this, Erida begs his brother to show him how to bag a girlfriend since he's at that age where every teen boy wants to wet their pickle. But Cheyenne ignores the loud gorilla and keeps playing Mario Kart. Since Cheyenne is clapping the most popular girl in school, Erida demands the formula, but the gamehead just tells him to go with the flow. A flow Erida knows about, so he yells at Cheyenne to explain. As if it's his fault, the one and only girl Erida liked rejected him because she heard a rumor that his meat couldn't pass the buns. Turns out, it was more like a sad little hot dog in a stadium bun. No one even noticed it was there. Suddenly, the duo sisters Katomo, Minani, CIA, Banri, and Uka interrupt the boys, and the science nerd of the group points out that conversations between guys are usually 10% hobbies, 30% girls, and 60% sex, which is honestly accurate. Add another 10% for edging sessions that end in blue balls and existential dread. CIA bets Erida was demanding the dirty details of Cheyenne and her relationship, while the big bad wolf huffs and puffs, trying to deny it. So loud, he doesn't even hear Cheyenne telling the girls about his late-night gooning session toward them, because nothing says family bonding like edging to your adopted sisters while they sleep. For that, Oka commands her K9 to bite the shit out of Erida. That's when the loser finally realizes what caused all these tooth holes in his ass. Turns out the dog was just jealous it wasn't getting any action either. He stands up and asks the girls why he pervs on them when he has a cultural anime DVD collection. But the girls treat his words like wind and assure him they'll never trust a dirtbag like him, especially after he tried forcing plot development on Katomo. Classic move, bro. Nothing screams healthy like turning your sister into a waifu speedrun. However, Banri pleads with the girls to go easy on him, arguing it's normal for a Vegentine boy to go through this. Jimmy Neutron, the girl version, denies it's abnormal for a guy to simp for his sisters, as if she never watched Skies of Connection or Origairu, explaining that inbreeding can cause deformity. Good thing they're adopted, or Erida's kids would come out looking like cursed Pokemon. Banri then tells the young cub there's more to the human psyche than science can explain so far, even suggesting CIA must have a crush, which she denies. Yeah, because nothing kills a boner faster than realizing your crush is just repressed family trauma. Joining the conversation, Minani claims she has no problem with Erida, which makes him think Banri isn't the only one on his side, only for her to destroy his plot-making abilities. While he gasps for air, Oka asks Cheyenne if he'll be free this Saturday since they're throwing a birthday party for Katono, and he promises to be there. Katono then asks Erida if he has any plans, and he assures her that even if he does, none of them are as important to him as she is, because jerking off to her bathwater pics can wait 5 minutes. Later at the train station, ugly, disgusting losers lust over the Shiunji sisters, thinking how awesome it would be to live with them. Little do they know it's 90% blue-balled edging and 10% accidental walk-ins on family therapy sessions. Meanwhile, Erida and Cheyenne chill at a spot alone, while passing girls blow kisses at Cheyenne, but ignore Erida, who makes them want to puke. At school, Erida recalls the simps at the station wishing they could live with his sisters, but he points out that if that ever happened, they'd be begging to get iced on the first day because little do they know, his sisters are a pain in the ass. Literally, if you count the time Oka's dog mistook his balls for chew toys. Cheyenne, on the other hand, can't really be mad at simps lusting after his sisters. After all, they are pretty, but Erida only sees them as sisters, not his personal protein milk dump, yet. Cheyenne then brings up Erida and Katono's freaky situation. And Erida explains that Katono wanted to be in an intimate relationship with him, but he rejected her, afraid the other sisters would float his head across the sea like Katsura. Looking out the window, Erida sees his crush walking by, shining like diamonds, unlike him whose life is dull and mediocre and goes unnoticed by her, probably because she can smell the desperation and week-old socks from a mile away. That night, Erida hops on Instagram to follow his crush, but hesitates, thinking she'll just ignore his follow request. He was about to bust a fat one to her profile pic instead. Classic edging session, because finishing to real pussy feels too much like commitment. When Uka walks in, asking to borrow his notes while Uka copies them like how you dunce-head losers copy your friend's homework. Erida sneaks a glance at her melons, which she almost catches in 4K. Changing the subject, she asks him about his crush, but he refuses to entertain her fan service and instead wants to punch Cheyenne's face for leaking his secret. But realizing she's going to be up his ass until scientists de-extinct the woolly mammoth like they did the dire wolf, he confesses his crush on Yokoyama, who happens to be in Uka's committee club, so she volunteers to help. However, Erida remembers Quick Toon Recap's advice to never let anyone rizz up a girl for you and cancels Uka like she's above. He assures her that even if he moves slow as a snail, he'll ask her out himself, because nothing accelerates rejection like admitting you're still a virgin at 16. Meanwhile, Katono simps over an image of Erida, wondering when the day will come when he helps increase the world population with her. The next day, on the walk home, Erida wonders how life would have turned out if he wasn't born into a rich family, almost pissing his pants when he sees Yokoyama rubbing down her GigaChad boyfriend's chest, probably wondering if her hands been places Erida's pickle could only dream of. It's Katono's birthday, and Erida sits in his room thinking about the guy he saw Yokoyama with before running into Uka, who compliments his suit. Everyone gathers in the dining hall where Uka and Manabe start beefing over some cheap Shein AirPods. Uka claims Manabe lost them because she plays too many damn video games, but Manabe claps back, reminding her how she's always losing library books, so who is she to talk? Tired of the noise, Erida shouts at them to stop forcing themselves into each other's ass. "Can't y'all see a chill guy over here trying to wait for the party to start?" he yells. CIA agrees and tells the fighting grandmas to calm the hell down. Their dad's coming. Later, just as they're about to make a toast, Daddy Bear stops everyone, saying he has something important to share. Something he's been saving for Katono's 15th birthday. He then drops the shocking news that they aren't real siblings but adopted children. Only Katono and Cheyenne are blood-related, being twins. Hearing this, everyone screams, with Erida almost propelling through the ceiling if it wasn't for gravity, because nothing kills a boner faster than "you're adopted," unless it's "you're adopted and now legal." Daddy explains that since they're all grown now, it's the perfect time to tell them when they're mature enough to handle it. Oka and Erida stare at each other, like they suddenly realize what's been holding them back from clapping cheeks all along. Years of blue-balled restraint finally paying off like a delayed nut. Clapping his hands, Mr. Shiunji suggests they continue, adding that if anyone has questions, they can always ask him. But the truth already fried everyone's brain cells, including their taste buds, so none of them have the appetite to eat, except maybe Erida, who's suddenly starving for something else entirely. Afterward, the siblings gather for tea. Manabe says she doesn't remember what she ate, and Erida jokes that she ate him, because in this family, dinner hits different now that the blood relation excuse is gone. Surprisingly, the girls don't try to cut off his sausage this time now that they know they aren't related. Turns out the real threat was always the family dog knowing too much. Oka, on the other hand, refuses to accept the truth. She wishes her dad never said anything, but CIA assures her their dad made the right choice, telling them now before it was too late, before Erida's gooning addiction turned into full-on family breeding arc. Still, Uka feels betrayed, like her dad deceived her. Manabe tries to cheer her up, saying that despite not being related, they should feel lucky a wealthy businessman adopted them. Uka then asks if anyone remembers Katono as a baby, but not even Bonri, the oldest, has any memory of that. And who can blame her? I mean, I only remember the first DVDs I bought as a kid, mostly the ones that taught me what cultural really means. In the end, Bonri says that after living together for 15 years, she can't just ditch everyone. She still sees them as her siblings, even if some of them see her as prime clapping material now. In his room, Erida thinks about everything, but the memory of Yokoyama and her boyfriend f***s with his concentration. He heads to the bathroom to roll a joint. But before he enters, a basket of dirty underwear catches his attention. He almost goes in for a sniff, but the fear of getting caught makes him drop it. He thinks he's going to be alone in the bath, rubbing out a few massive ones to pictures of Yokoyama in his head. But when he walks in, Katono's already there staring at little Charlie for a full minute, before embarrassment kicks Erida's ass right out the door. Flustered, he tells Katono he'll come back when she's done, but she calls him back in to wash her back, because nothing says innocent sibling help like soaping up your adopted sister's curves while trying not to pop a boner. Meanwhile, Cheyenne returns from his date and runs into Uka, who seems ready to ask about the date like a nosy girlfriend. But instead, she wants to know how he feels about them not being related, and he admits it feels unreal. Like suddenly the family group chat can turn into a thirst trap thread overnight. But what Yuka really wants to know is what Irida thinks. Cheyenne teases her about it, and she replies that since she and Irida were raised as twins for 16 years, it's only natural they formed a deep connection. Deep enough that she's probably already measured how many inches of emotional incest she can handle. Cheyenne believes Irida will never change, and he'll always be the eldest son of the Shiunji family. But Uka softly replies that she hopes so, because if he starts clapping family cheeks, the hierarchy might get real messy real quick. Meanwhile, just as Irida is about to leave, Kotono hugs him from behind, inviting him to her chamber of secrets, code for "come see how wet non-blood-related drama can make a girl." Back with Cheyenne, he suggests they can now marry each other since they aren't blood-related, which makes Uka's floodgates open, asking if that's the kind of thing he normally fantasizes about, probably while edging to family photos like a true degenerate. He denies it, but she claims she wouldn't put it past Irida with his dirty mind. Little does he know, she hasn't noticed him gawking at her lately. Just then, she remembers Irida and Kotono's situation when they caught the duo in a position like mating flies, and asks Cheyenne about it. But he drills it into the nosy bitch's head that it's a secret, making her give up. Still, she thinks Irida isn't some intergalactic horn dog who'd force plot development onto a girl, so there must be a better explanation, like maybe he's just saving his stamina for the full harem route. Realizing Uka is a smartass, Cheyenne spills the beans that Kotono confessed to Irida. The shocking reveal nearly makes Uka wake the dead with her loud mouth until Cheyenne tells her to shut up. However, being a nosy mold rat, she burrows her way into his ass for more details. So, Cheyenne explains how Irida rejected Kotono, but that rejection alone couldn't stop the plot, making her crave boiling inside her, like blue-balled rage, but make it yandere. Hearing this, Uka points out an incoming headache, as if she should have been the one Irida was in that SUS position with. Because nothing stings worse than watching your twin get rejected while your own thighs are screaming for plot armor. At the same time, Irida tries to escape a clutch I would die for, but Kotono begs him to stay like Taylor Swift because she loves him. Probably because she already scripted their wedding registry in her notes app. Just the other day, she researched marriages between non-blood-related siblings, and it gave her the green light. Turns out Japanese law is surprisingly chill when your family tree is IKEA flat pack. Irida tells her teens often confuse their feelings, but Kotono fires back, telling him to take a good look. Does she look like some half-brained thought? If Irida were Haruka Kasagano in this dimension, he'd devour this juicy steak of a sister, raw, no lube, no regrets. But he rejects her.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Saying he just wants to be a good brother who will protect her as they grow. Translation: I'll protect you from everyone except my eventual weak moment at 3 a.m. Kotono understands his feelings, but points out how he's both the best and meanest brother at the same time. Best at blueballing, meanest at not following through. Before leaving, Irida checks if the coast is clear, unaware that a peeping Tom was peeping, probably one of the sisters already recording for the family OnlyFans backup folder. As he walks, he struggles to process what Kotono did. Even though his dad confirmed they aren't related, he refuses to flip his sister over like a pancake and have her for breakfast. Yet the intrusive thought of syrup is already winning. To his surprise, he finds CIA waiting in his room. This geek claims she sniffed crack and walked into the wrong room. But she points out if dirty magazines covered the place, he would have locked the door. Since he didn't, it's open for all visitors. Curious, he asks why she's invading his privacy this late, all while trying to hide that he just came from the bath, probably still rock hard from Kotono's backwashing tutorial. Instead, she points out how his room is the smallest of them all, recalling the rock-paper-scissors game they played to decide who got which room, with Uka winning the biggest, because of course the nosy mold rat gets the master suite for spying purposes. In his mind, Irida wonders what the hell CIA is looking for. He figures she must want to talk about what their dad said. But nope, she wants pillow talk, pushing him onto the bed for some plot development, straight to the "stepsis help me test my limits" trope. This ugly loser who was born yesterday panics, wondering what the hell is going on. Like even a blind dude could tell CIA wants to clap him, probably to scientifically disprove incest taboos with empirical thrusting data. She tells him to calm down, and that this romantic getaway is top secret. While Irida's brain chills in the deep fryer, amazed that his sister has skills like the girls in cultural anime, Suddenly, she reveals she saw him and Kotono's bath entanglement. Shocking him, he thought he'd been the perfect invisible guy. Flustered, he throws CIA off like Snake Quan. She says she has faith linked to Kotono's feelings for him and believes he handled the bath situation like a proper older brother, aka, you didn't nut in the shampoo bottle, congrats. But given the risk of it happening again, she wanted solid proof he won't succumb to his sisters. Thus, fan service for the viewers this early in the anime, complete with jiggle physics and awkward boner cam. Erida asks if she couldn't have picked a different approach since she woke the sleeping lion and didn't put it back to sleep. Now it's just raging with morning wood and moral conflict. But since she has no romantic feelings for him, this was the best approach. Classic, I'm just testing your willpower excuse before the inevitable plot twist nut. Then she asks if he knows why incest is banned in Japan, to which Erida got no answer. So she explains that parents with different genes make healthier offspring, because God forbid the next generation comes out looking like a Sharingan reject. She says the word incest won't hold Kotono back forever, and it's a problem she can't ignore. But outside of Cheyenne and Kotono, the rest of them can develop plot. That word plot makes Erida's heartbeat go wild as he gawks at her melons and hips, because nothing accelerates a heartbeat faster than realizing your sister just greenlit the family gangbang arc. Even though she hates being a plot-making candidate in his eyes, it's only natural for it to happen. Biology plus adopted loophole equals premium Coomer fuel. When she leaves, Erida wonders what the hell the Call Me Chan thing was about, but he gets where she's coming from. Still, he spent 16 years living as their brother, and he refuses to let that change overnight, even if his is already petitioning for an early amendment. The next day, Erida wakes up with 2 swollen footballs. But the memory of Yokoyama drains all the energy he has for school, because nothing kills post-nut clarity faster than realizing your crush is getting railed by someone who actually finishes. On his way out, he runs into Kotono and Bonri dressed as nurses. But instead of secretly snapping photos like a goon for tonight, he yells at them, asking why the hell they're wearing that so early in the morning. Bonri informs the dimwit it's an outfit for her practical that arrived this morning. She's just trying it on with Kotono wearing the spare meaning backup for when the first one gets soaked in family drama. Later, as the siblings walk, some degenerate simps gawk at the sisters, claiming it's leg day like some anime protagonist with a leg fetish, probably planning to nut to thigh-high stockings later, while crying about being single. Meanwhile, Erida slowly walks in the background, completely unfazed by how good his sisters look or smell. He only wants to know how Yokoyama smells, preferably post-shower, pre-boyfriend, with a hint of unreachable pussy. Beanie Lover then asks Erida if girls are better liars than men, since now in public, they're chill as hell, despite all the drama that unfolded at home over the weekend, like they're all just one rejected confession away from a collective family orgy meltdown. At school, girls flock to Cheyenne like Aisho speed in Tokyo, while Erida goes completely unseen in the background, taking his decaying scent boots from his locker, because his aura is basically virgin who edges to adopted sisters. Remembering Cheyenne's earlier comment about even Kotono going to school like nothing happened, he suggests the girls might not show it, but they're definitely shaken by the situation. His deep thinking moment is interrupted by Manabe, who's the only person that's noticed him all day. She drifts into her gaming fantasy as this boy stares at her from head to toe. The same dirtbag who claimed he's not into his sisters romantically, yet here he is mentally undressing her gamer girl fit. She catches him in 4K, but assumes he's just staring because she has crumbs on her mouth. While walking, Erida admits he's jealous of Manabe for being so talented, unlike him, but she doubts he's talentless. His talent is clearly blueballing himself into oblivion. Outside, a bunch of crazy fans await Manabe, nearly smothering her for a photo they'll probably mix with their electric toys later. The fangirls gush over how pretty Manabe's skin looks up close and say they saw her on a sports magazine, while Erida watches, wishing he could switch bodies like Lindsay Lohan so he could finally experience what it feels like to be wanted instead of pitied. When they're finally alone again, Manabe explains that when she first arrived at school, she took a photo wearing a guy's uniform which blew up. But Erida thinks it's because the school probably assumed she took the photo in her boyfriend's uniform. Since it's her first evening off, Erida suggests they have some fun before heading home. But she drops the news that she failed her class placement tests, so her coach sent her home today. She assures Erida she did her best, but he knows the truth. Despite being a star athlete, her grades are straight trash, so he offers to tutor her. Turns out this loser actually has impressive grades. despite being a nut-willy idiot, proof that all that edging built up some serious brainpower. And he can't help but admire Manabe's beauty as she moves in closer during their session, close enough that he can smell the plot developing in real time. However, Manabe couldn't give a single f if she fails a million times, like you with your crush, and instead diverts her attention to some weird cartoon playing on TV. In the end, she fails the kindergarten-level test Erida gave her, and instead of retrying, she starts singing the Ben 10 theme song. Even though Erida came here to study, Manabe's voice pulls him into her plot verse, and he realizes he always enjoys moments with her, especially the ones where studying turns into accidental dry-humping the study desk. On their way out, Erida runs into Yokoyama and immediately makes his worthless presence disappear. Classic invisibility arc for the background NPC simp. Afterward, while walking, Manabe thanks Erida for the best evening, but he wants to know how she really feels about them not being real siblings. She's convinced their dad wouldn't lie to them, just like how my girlfriend lied to me. But she's more concerned about Kotono being the youngest, since she'd have a harder time processing all this, probably because the baby of the family is already speedrunning the breeding route. Overall, she suggests he's not really her big bro, just some older guy at school. Translation: free-use candidate with emotional baggage. Erida tells her to tone it down. Not wanting people to think she's shooting her shot at him, she blocks his path and tells him to stay focused.
Lord have mercy. We must stay focused, brothers. We must stay focused.
Even if his crush has a boyfriend, because nothing motivates a simp harder than knowing the he is taken. Shocked, he asks where she got that info, and she says Uka the nosy mold rat. Then she tells him to cheer up, patting his head, like petting a sad puppy who's about to get cucked again. That night, Manabe gifts Uka a box of cakes and a pair of brand new AirPods, the authentic ones from the Apple Store. Manabe apologizes for losing the last pair, but Uka assures her a sister is better than AirPods you can buy over and over, because family lasts forever. But so does the urge to clap cheeks now that the blood excuse is gone. She gives the AirPods back, telling Manabe she can keep them. Sisterly love at its finest. Several days later, Arata completes his Ashton Hall morning routine. On the way out, he sees Kotono, who greets him and quickly leaves without saying anything else. This causes him to think she might be over her abnormal feelings. A relief, considering he'd rather deal with a tax audit than that situation again. But then, C startles him before reminding him to address her with respect, as she requested the other night. After he assures her that there is nothing to worry about regarding the situation with Kotono, Manabe jumps in like a caffeine junkie, who just got their first hit of the day. While reminding him of how she humiliated him in the game room the previous night, she calls him senpai, and Seiha immediately asks why. So she explains how he always tries to act like the reincarnation of Master Oogway, which, for the record, is not the flex he thinks it is. At school later that morning, Arata sees Lala from across the hall and stops to avoid her as usual, before AA suddenly whispers, "I love you," into his ear. He immediately pulls back to make sure she is still in her right mind. When he asks why she said that, she asks if he has ever tried saying those words to Lala. He tells her it would be completely stupid and humiliating because Lala would obviously reject him for her boyfriend. She fires back that his overthinking is going to keep him single until his magnum withers away, a medical condition his doctor would list under self-inflicted. Her friends call out to her, so she runs off to meet them. While he watches, she starts talking about their plan to take Kotono out to a park and celebrate her birthday, offering to get a couple of things for anyone who wants. As her friends start acting like she is some kind of mythical princess, Arata wonders what would happen if he ever told them how she acts like an unhinged psychopath at home, probably cause a cult to form in her honor. Knowing his luck, the next moment, one of them sneaks a peek at him and says he is handsome. So the others also take a look and admit they were always too intimidated by his physique to notice he is actually attractive. When one of them teases the idea of becoming Alla's sister-in-law, she tells them to forget it, because Arata doesn't have the slightest clue how to treat a lady. She goes on to call him an ape that only evolved in his outward appearance while still operating on prehistoric brain matter, essentially a six-pack with a flip phone for a brain. But then she also points out how organized he can be, and slowly starts adding more compliments without even realizing that her face now resembles a stop sign. When they ask why she is blushing, she immediately starts walking off and claims they are already late for class. Meanwhile, Aretie gets lost in thought and prays that nothing weird will happen when they all go to the park, a prayer that God will absolutely not answer. Days later, they all arrive at the park buzzing with excitement. Banri reminds them they have to stay together and make sure Kotono enjoys every second. Right then, the park mascot shows up and Manami immediately takes off running with Ala. Apparently, staying together was more of a suggestion. So Banri and Arata beg the others to stay put while they go get food. Minutes later, they both return to the exact same spot and find absolutely no one. After seeing that nobody even considered staying with the mascot, they find a place to sit, and Arata spends a couple of minutes calling them before giving up. When Banri suddenly suggests they go on a date, he reminds her they are supposed to be celebrating Kotono's birthday. She tells him not to worry because they will eventually run into each other along the way. The kind of logic that only makes sense to people who also think, "I'll just have one drink," is a plan. She makes him eat all the food by himself before grabbing his arm and expressing how happy she is to be going on a date with a muscular guy like him. He completely ignores the compliment and has the audacity to be distracted, which she quickly calls out.
Oh my, I bet you're wondering why it feels extra soft and squishy on your right elbow.
The cultured gentleman then tries to act like he has no idea what she is talking about. After pulling away from her to protect what little remains of his sanity, he notices the countless number of men staring at her. He acts repulsed, but while climbing a flight of stairs moments later, he loses the mental battle and slips on the last step. Proof that karma has excellent timing. Shortly after, they get on a ride, and he spends most of it trying to keep his food down, eventually getting hold of Shin and learning they are all on the other side of the park. After Shin tells the rest of the girls where Arata and Banri are, Ala starts acting like they betrayed Kotono to go have fun, until Seiha points out that they were the ones who ran off first. They take turns discussing how Banri is definitely using every opportunity to mess with Arata. But when Ella notices how comfortable it's making Kotono, she changes the topic and asks which ride she wants to go on next. Moments later, Arata and Banri find a new spot to rest. After he tells her about Shin and the others, she decides to go find them after her snack break. He takes the opportunity to ask how she has been dealing with what their dad said. She admits it has been troubling her, but says she needs more answers before deciding what to do. She notices the weird look on his face and asks if there is something else on his mind. After thinking about how she might react to what Kotono and Seiha did, he decides to keep it to himself and says he just doesn't want their relationship as siblings to change. She immediately starts rubbing his head. He tells her to stop, but suddenly remembers she has always been a little overprotective, the human equivalent of a car alarm that goes off when a leaf falls on it. After saying she will continue protecting their family, she tries to get up, but a random girl slips and throws her drinks everywhere, so he jumps in to shield Banri. He tells the girl not to worry, and as Banri starts drying off as much soda as she can, he promises to help protect the rest of their siblings. The next moment, Shin and the girls show up and immediately start asking why he is soaked. He explains what happened to stop them from worrying. Manami suggests taking one last ride together, and on the way there, Banri grabs Arata's hand so they can run inside together. Several minutes after sundown, they finally finish with the rides. Ala still tries to continue the celebration by putting on a performance with Manami. When Arata says he has to use the restroom, Shin and Kotono decide to go as well. As soon as they are far enough away, C tells the others everything about what Kotono did the other night. At first, they all think she made it up and say it's a bit late for lame jokes. But then she explains exactly what she saw when she walked into the bath, and they all go from shocked to genuinely concerned. Like clockwork, they immediately try to blame Arata, claiming he couldn't keep himself in check. But Seiha says he was actually the one in danger. After explaining how he talked Kotono down, she assures them there is nothing to worry about on his end because she personally conducted quality control, a statement that raises more questions than it answers. When Ala asks how on earth she can be so sure, she casually describes how she straddled him and monitored his heart rate to see if he would react. The group collectively short-circuits. While Banri processes the fact that he could stay calm in that situation, Ala tries to wrap her head around everything. Seiha suggests they find a solution, but Banri tells them to relax because it's definitely just a phase. Manami agrees that Kotono might just be confused, and Seiha suggests keeping the discussion to themselves so Kotono won't feel embarrassed. Just then, Ala reveals the gaming room incident, and the group starts to realize that Kotono might actually have genuine feelings for him. Seiha suggests the revelation about their dad may have given her every reason to fully embrace those feelings. Banri, ever the voice of questionable reason, says it will wear off as long as Arata doesn't do anything stupid, which, given his track record, is doing a lot of heavy lifting as a plan. She also mentions that after the dinner with her dad, She went back to ask him more questions. They immediately want to know if there is more, but she says all he told her was that they were all orphans, and Alla's biological parents were never even found. They all agree to keep the situation under wraps, unless Kotono acts up again. As they start heading home, Arata begins to feel confident that their relationship won't be ruined by one silly bathroom mistake. Minutes later, Arata ends up waiting outside a store, while Shin and the girls make one last stop at the park's merchandise shop. Just as he spots someone who looks like Lala and nearly has a cardiac event, Alla comes out to check on him, and they end up taking a walk together. At one point, she stops and says they need to talk about the fact that they were never actually twins. He tells her not to bother because he will never stop seeing her as his twin sister. Regardless, she continues talking about all the times they thought they had twin telepathy, before suddenly saying that she loves him.
I love you.
The previous day at school, Arata had met up with Shin for their usual talk, and felt a little surprised when Shin asked if he had ever thought about their sisters as regular girls. He initially tried to play dumb, but after Shin kept insisting that he must have at least considered it once, Arata claimed to have never thought of any of them that way. The kind of statement that fools absolutely nobody. Shin then said he was already getting all the excitement he needed from his girlfriend, and when Arata asked for details, Shin used it as an opportunity to remind him that he was a sad, lonely virgin. Which, rude, but also fair. The next moment, Shin apologized for telling Alla everything that went down with Kotono, but Arata was already convinced Alla saw him as a depraved creep, until Shin explained that she always knew he could never do something like that to his own sister. Arata told him that suddenly learning the truth about their relationship doesn't change the fact that they will always be siblings. Shin responded that everyone at school would definitely see things differently if it ever got out, but promised he would not tell a soul. Back at the park, Alla tells Arata she will always be proud to call him her twin brother, despite the fact that he is apparently stupid enough to believe 100 men could defeat a gorilla. He realizes she was not confessing anything romantic, just delivering her signature blend of affection and insults. He continues listening as she commends him for handling the situation with Kotono like a responsible older brother. When he asks why she can't show her sweeter side more often, she immediately reverts to her usual difficult self and leaves to use the restroom, while he struggles to keep his thoughts in order, a battle he is losing about 60% of the time. The following day, Arata tries to take his training to the next level in the gym. Minami shows up earlier than usual, which surprises him since she normally trains in the evening. When she says she just woke up a little early, he gets excited to train with her, but she tells him to calm down because she is still in the process of becoming a functional human being. After sitting on the yoga ball, she asks why he never skips training, since it's not like he has any athletic talent. He reminds her of the years their dad spent forcing him to train and says he simply can't stop. He has developed a serious case of body dysmorphia, a condition he shares with approximately every man who has ever discovered a gym. As he starts his stretching routine, Minami remembers how the previous night they all went looking for Alla at the souvenir store. Minami had offered to find her, but the moment she spotted them both outside, Alla said 3 very significant words to Arata, and Minami has been losing her mind about it ever since. She finally asks if anything happened between him and Alla. When he asks what she means, she tells him to forget it if he doesn't remember anything worth talking about. This only increases his curiosity, so he admits they have been fighting a lot lately, and apologizes if it's making her uncomfortable. She thanks him for the chat, says she will finish training later, and promptly leaves a masterclass in running away from a conversation. Moments later, he finishes his session and tries to figure out why she asked about Alla on his way to the bath. Once there, he finds Seiha changing right in front of the door and immediately retreats behind the wall, asking if she forgot how locks work. She asks why he is acting like he hasn't seen her like that before, which is doing absolutely nothing to help his morning. He claims he was just startled, so she apologizes and heads into the shower. He walks in to drop his towel in the laundry basket and notices her ring sitting on the table without its usual necklace. He asks if it finally fits her finger. She replies that it is still a bit loose, and explains she always removes it before showering since it is the most valuable item they all use to remember their mother. Later that morning in his room, he realizes that going too hard in the gym is not always a good idea, a revelation most men have approximately 24 hours too late. Banri shows up and starts acting like she has never seen his room before. After he tells her to drop the act, she admits to being impressed by his organizational skills, but insists there must be something suspicious somewhere. and promptly opens his browser history.
No. Wait.
Where she discovers a game designed to teach romantically hopeless individuals the proper technique for something best left undescribed. He snatches the laptop back and tries to figure out why she is suddenly in his room. She joins him on the bed and asks if they can go on a date. Several minutes later, they end up outside a phone store, where she reminds him he has been wanting an upgrade for a while. Inside, a salesperson presents him with the latest iPhone and delivers her rehearsed speech about the new charging port, as though it represents the pinnacle of human achievement. Arata accepts her pitch without question, as every iPhone user is contractually obligated to do. After the salesperson leaves to prepare his phone, Banri asks why he does not care about the color. He says he does not care about outward appearances. She commends him for having a progressive mindset, but immediately advises him not to apply that same logic when choosing a partner. Because finding someone with the right qualities, whatever she means by that, will keep him happy even if she turns out to be completely insufferable. Which, when you think about it, perfectly describes everyone in this household. Just then, the salesperson returns with news of a couple's discount. Before he can explain their relationship, Banri grabs him from behind and acts like they were designed for each other. On the way out, she continues entertaining the idea of being a real couple, while he stays silent and tries to figure out what she is actually plotting. She spots an ice cream stand and runs over excitedly, because some people never emotionally age past 12, and honestly, it works for her. While eating, she asks if they should have bought some for everyone else. He says the ice cream would have melted by the time they got home, which is the kind of practical thinking that ruins every spontaneous moment. She reminds him of the time Minami ate Kotono's ice cream and caused a fight with Alla over it, and how they started calling Kotono the closet fairy because she hides whenever conflict breaks out, a coping strategy that is honestly underrated. Arata tells her not to make fun of Kotono, considering she herself once had full-blown panic attacks when anyone mentioned ghosts. Upon realizing he has just resurrected her trauma, he quickly changes the subject, noting that they could spend all day listing the chaotic things that happened growing up. This causes Banri to realize that nothing has really changed between them. She asks if he has anything he wants to talk about and says she just wants to make sure her little brother is okay. He says she has nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, Kotono scrolls through all the pictures from the park before Banri sends a photo from their ice cream outing to the group chat. Kotono initially starts typing a compliment to him, then deletes it and decides to distract herself with studying instead, a decision made by people who are definitely not fine. By then, they have finished their ice creams. Banri asks if he wants to go anywhere else before suddenly receiving a text that changes her mood entirely. When he asks if she is okay, she says the date has to end because something came up. He asks why she cannot just get a boyfriend to go on dates with instead of dragging him around. After a brief moment of something unreadable crossing her face, she pats his head, tells him not to worry about it, and leaves, immediately calling Minami to report that Arata showed no signs of being in love with Alla. Minami thanks her and hangs up, then spends the next several minutes wondering if it is actually possible to misinterpret a three-word sentence said directly to someone's face. Despite her doubts, she types a reply to Banri saying there is definitely no way Alla asked him out. Then she accidentally sends it to the group chat. She deletes it immediately. Alla walks in seconds later and nearly ends Minami's life with a single appearance. After Alla tells her to hurry up and leaves, Minami convinces herself that no one saw it. Meanwhile, Kotono absolutely saw it before Minami could hit delete, and is now sitting with the kind of information that changes everything. Over dinner the following evening, Arata notices Seiha's sour mood, and recalls she had the same expression at the train station after school. Shortly after dinner, he finds her zoned out on the stairs and asks if she wants to talk. He immediately tries to take it back to avoid sounding strange, but she accepts the offer. He ends up confused when she suggests playing Twister. Instead of having an actual conversation, she casually admits that her heart did something unexpected during the little experiment she ran on him, and proposes that the game will help determine whether she was just out of breath or whether something more complicated is happening. A scientific method so bold it could get published in a journal nobody wants to read. He asks if she has completely lost it. She tells him to relax because this is the only logical way to figure out what is actually going on between them, which is the most unhinged sentence anyone has ever delivered with complete sincerity. The game begins. He plays reluctantly and tries to maintain a sensible distance, which she points out defeats the entire purpose. Things escalate in a manner that his therapist, if he had one, which he clearly needs, would describe as a lot to unpack. Just when he thinks the worst is over, she wraps things up, announces she has confirmed she wants nothing to do with his inexperienced self, thanks him for participating in her experiment, and walks out. He lies there for a moment, questioning every decision that led to this point. A few minutes later, Ala walks in and asks why he was making so much noise. He tells her not to worry about it. She asks if he is free for a game, and unlike her older sister, sets up the PlayStation for a normal, non-traumatizing activity. She spends the first few minutes absolutely destroying him while he watches her and realizes she has changed a lot from the aggressive girl he grew up with. However, the moment she starts trash-talking him for losing, he locks in and systematically dismantles her in every subsequent match, because some things are sacred, and competitive pride is one of them. She says she needs a bathroom break, then immediately puts him in a chokehold from behind. When all his pleading fails, he gets serious and pins her to the floor, their hands locked together. Looking at her expression in that moment, he panics internally but plays it cool, saying he warned her. She replies that she did not realize he was finally growing up. She gets up, claims to be done with the game, and walks out, taking a moment alone to process whatever just happened to her emotions. While she goes upstairs to think, he replays the moment in his head until he gets fed up and leaves. Neither of them notices that Katono was in the closet the entire time, which, for the closet fairy, is basically just a Tuesday. The next day after school, Kaname calls Arata to his office to ask how they have all been since the big family revelation. After Arata says nothing has really changed, Kaname immediately asks if he has fallen in love yet. No warm-up, no small talk, just that. Meanwhile, the girls have just finished the latest episode of their favorite romance series. As they debate various plot possibilities, Katono quietly separates herself and thinks through everything she has witnessed over the past few days. Several minutes later, she stops them all from heading inside and announces that she is still in love with Arata. Bannery says they all know she loves her older brother. Katono tells her to stop treating her like a child, says she wants to marry him since they are not even real siblings, declares them all rivals, and states she is ready to fight for his heart. Back in the office, Arata has just asked Kaname why he is suddenly interested in his romantic life. Kaname says he is just looking out. Arata admits he still has no luck in that department. When Arata asks why Kaname chose their mother, Kaname starts to say something deeply inappropriate, catches himself, pivots gracefully to talking about her wonderful personality, and then reminds Arata of a special room he once promised to show them all when the time is right. Arata mentions that they always assumed it led to a secret bunker. Kaname ignores this. Arata then gives a small speech about how proud he is to be his son, promises to make sure all his siblings have a happy life regardless of their complicated situation, and heads out, leaving Kaname sitting there realizing his son is doing a better job at being an adult than he is. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye!